The crimson sun set over Arizona's Superstition Mountains, painted the desert sky like spilled blood across ancient canvas, casting long shadows over the smoldering ruins where Victoria Vic Sterling stood with her back straight as a cavalry saber, watching the last embers of her home fade into the gathering darkness. The 41-year-old widow's steel-gray eyes, sharp as winter wind through mountain passes, studied the systematic destruction with the calculating precision of someone who had learned to read patterns in chaos and find opportunity in disaster. 3 hours had passed since the Garrett gang's brutal assault on the town of Mineral Springs had claimed the lives of 2 bank clerks, stolen $40,000 in territorial development funds, and burned her modest house to ash and memory. But what ate at Vic more than the material loss was the growing certainty that her home had been specifically targeted not as random destruction, but as a deliberate message from enemies who knew exactly who she was and what she represented. Vic's weathered hands, marked by 20 years of frontier life, but steady as bedrock when needed, gripped the leather satchel she had managed to save from the flames. Inside were documents that most people would have dismissed as simple correspondence and business records, but which actually represented the most comprehensive intelligence network in the Arizona Territory, a web of information and influence that had taken 15 years to construct, and which the Garrett gang had just unknowingly awakened. The desert around her bore the scars of violence that transcended mere robbery or random destruction. Tracks in the hard-packed earth told a story of coordinated movement and tactical precision that suggested military training rather than simple criminal opportunism. More disturbing still were the small details that revealed intimate knowledge of Mineral Springs' routines, defenses, and vulnerabilities, knowledge that could only have come from someone who had studied their community with the patience of a predator selecting its prey. "Mrs. Sterling!" came a voice behind her, soft with the Spanish accent of Sonora and heavy with the weight of shared loss. Miguel Herrera emerged from the shadows, where he had been tending to his wounded horse, his weathered face reflecting the same terrible understanding that was growing in Vic's mind. This was not random violence. They knew which houses to burn, which families to target, which routes would take them safely away from pursuit. Vic nodded without turning from her survey of the destruction, her mind already working through the tactical implications of what Miguel had observed. As the territorial mail contractor, Miguel saw more of the desert than any other person in the territory, and his assessment of the gang's movements would be invaluable in understanding the scope of what they were facing.